You know that moment when someone says something dismissive, rude, or just wildly inappropriate, and you smile politely and say, "Ha, no worries." Except there are definitely worries. There are definitely worries. Yeah, you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to be that person. You want to be liked, smooth, professional, easy to be around. So you swallow the frustration. You let the comments slide. You don't send the follow-up. And you sit on your discomfort until it becomes part of your personality. Congratulations! You've been weaponized by politeness culture. Sawadee Cup and welcome to another episode here for the Funky Pod, Mindful Media and Communication. And if you want to be polite, like, share, subscribe. All right. You've already learned in the cold open right now what this is about, right? Nice until it's not. The hidden violence of politeness. Yeah, when you say it's fine and start to slowly disappear. And we all been there, right? We all been there. And we're all fluent in emotional softening. And I mean, let's be real. Most of us were taught that politeness is a virtue. In some cultures more than in others. I'm German. I live in Thailand. Completely different cultures in Germany. We are polite, but we also will say if we feel something's not okay. We don't go around hurt people's feelings on purpose, but we'll be like, hey, I didn't like that. That's okay. In Thailand, it's not okay at all. Thailand, we are very kreng Thai. That's like a word that describes that we don't want to offend anybody or hurt anybody's feelings by. It's a very, very difficult to describe, but everybody's like kreng Thai. Like, I'm not gonna say anything that would make you have to do some extra work and extra thoughts and extra whatever, right? So it's very much around the bush. So yeah, we are all taught it to some extent, some cultures more, some cultures less. But for all of us, it's how you're supposed to communicate, especially if you want to be liked, respected, or allowed into professional and social spaces. But here's the twist. Politeness isn't always kindness. Sometimes politeness is a survival strategy. Yeah, a way to self-censor while keeping conversations pleasant. Yeah, a way to smile while internally disassociating from what's actually happening. Like, yeah, sure. Yeah, we say it's okay when it's clearly not. No worries when it's all worries. Why? I totally understand when we absolutely do not and probably should not understand. And this is not about social niceties, okay? This is about how unspoken power dynamics get enforced. And this now, again, as always, leads me to the theory time. Welcome to the polite performance of power imbalance. There's actually a theory about it. That's why I'm smiling already. It's called, what, have a guess? Politeness theory. It's from the 80s, but still quite applicable. Let me explain. So politeness, and we talked about this in a previous podcast, is a form of face work. And so we use it to protect the social face of ourselves and others, like how we are perceived. I mean, there's positive politeness, making people feel liked and included, and there's negative politeness, avoiding offense, preserving distance. Okay. Most of us, especially the Germans, most of us default to negative politeness in high-stakes spaces, workplace, family gatherings, conflict-prone relationships. Why? Well, because confrontation risks social status, so we try to avoid it. So saying what you really think risks of violating social expectations. So we soften, we defer, we dodge, we spin, and we wrap feedback in and 10 layers of disclaimers. I don't mean to offend, I don't mean to hurt, and however, but I didn't, you know it, right? We sugarcoat discomfort until it rots in the conversation and no one's really noticing it anymore. That's how we do it. And then, since you're talking about face already, and then there's face negotiation theory. This one dives a little bit deeper into how conflict is handled based on cultural norms and power structures. In many collectivist or hierarchical settings, most workplaces or most relationships or most of Asia, and well, honestly, most group chats, and the maintenance of harmony takes priority over clarity, right? Again, unless it's a German chat, unless it's a German family. No, I'm kidding. Just mentioning that because I'm German and I only make fun of my own. Okay, but back to like what happens in those settings, right? Criticism becomes a suggestion. Anger becomes awkward silence. Boundaries become, soft preferences. And assertiveness becomes rudeness. And people who disrupt that script, they're labeled difficult. They're labeled too much. They're labeled aggressive. Or they're not a team player. But meanwhile, the people saying the worst things politely, they're professional. And now I'm not professional anymore, right? Right. And so how does this look like in daily life? So a quick field guide to social self-erosion. Let's zoom in a little bit, okay? You're in a meeting, someone interrupts you, you laugh awkwardly and then you let it slide, right? Right, all been there. A friend makes a joke that hits too close, but you don't want to make it weird. Let it slide. The colleague dumps their workload on you. You say, sure, I can do it. Then you cancel your evening plans and you do it. Or you get a weird DM and you ignore it. Then reply the next day with like a thumbs up. Or your boss gives feedback that's actually just condensation wrapped in like passive aggression and you thank them. Best regards. You're being polite. You're being slowly erased. So why do we say nice even when it hurts? Because the alternative, assertiveness, confrontation, truth, feel risky. We worry about so many things. We worry about rejection. We worry about social backlash. We worry about being labeled as sensitive, dramatic, or, and God forbid, unpleasant. Especially for people socialized to maintain harmony. And that's now a little bit generic on purpose, but let me explain first before you cancel me. Women, younger professionals, non-dominant voices in general. Politeness isn't just expected, it's enforced. And again, different cultures see that a little bit differently. We're recording this podcast in Asia where this is very much enforced. Yeah, you're praised for your composure, your calm, your grace under pressure. But meanwhile, that pressure is slowly flattening you. But hey, it's so cool how you stay quiet while this is happening. It's so nice. So here's the question, okay? What do we want? Politeness versus peace. And that might be the hardest truth right now. Politeness often protects the person with more power. That's just the case. Yeah, you stay quiet to keep the meeting running smoothly, right? You stay awake to keep the vibe light. You say nothing because speaking might escalate things. But who decided silence is peace? Who benefits from not making a scene? There's a saying and I didn't even put it in my script when I prepared the episode, but I served in the German army, like back then it was still mandatory, soon to come again. I served in the German army for almost a year, and our superior always trained us, and he's like, if there is something that you disagree with, you have to say it, because if you don't say it, it means you're agreeing with it. And that's kind of like how this is done, right? If you don't say anything, if you're being too polite to say something, it means you're okay with it. Oh. And so sometimes politeness is just a tool that helps other people. Oh, sometimes politeness is just a tool that helps other people avoid accountability. So then we have to ask, how can we break that nice loop? Can we break it? What can we do? Because this episode is not about being rude for the sake of it. I'm not saying like go out and be rude to people, right? But it's about recognizing when nice has stopped being generous and started being self-negating. So how do you push back? The first thing you could do is you could again name the pattern, not just the incident. There's something like, I notice I'm often the one smoothing things over. Can you talk about that? That feels a bit more reflective without sounding accusatory, but still cuts. But you're not saying, you always do that. You're saying, I think I noticed this. What do you think? Then the other party has to respond. And to quote the Yes Theory from YouTube with their merch line, seek discomfort. Get comfortable with discomfort. Not everyone will love you when you say what needs to be said. That's fine. It's okay. Love isn't the goal. You want to be loved for being quiet? No. Clarity is the goal. And then if you're being loved for being clear and for actually standing up for what you believe in and what you think, then that's great. Okay? And the last thing, stop apologizing for having standards. You don't owe anyone an emotional discount just because you said it nicely. Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. I'd like to revisit what was just said. The most important one, no. Practice that, okay? Not every no needs a paragraph, okay? Not necessary. So, to wrap it up, right? Politeness shouldn't cost you your voice. There's nothing wrong with being thoughtful. Of course not. Being thoughtful is fantastic. But if your default setting is say nothing and hope it passes, you're not keeping peace. You're internalizing the conflict. So maybe now that the podcast's over, notice when you're being polite and ask yourself why. Is it connection or is it compliance? Because if kindness is a strength, a politeness without clarity is just a Polish kind of self-erasure. And just to be clear, you don't need to be loud, but you do need to be real. That's what you owe yourself. That's it for this week's episode of the Funk Pod, Mindful Media Communication. The last, I want to say 2 or 3 episodes have been more about like self-communication or like how we can be better communicators. I will keep that as a branch of the Funk Pod. We will go back into also analyzing other things, media products and so on again. But I just thought that's something that I noticed a lot these days, weeks, months, when talking to people and being online and so on and working with people. So I figured that's worth having a talk. If you feel like there's something else out there that you would want to see analyzed, reach out at funkitpod on social media, funkitpod@gmail.com. Leave a like, share, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. That helps a lot to reach a new audience. Until then, stay safe, take care, be polite and subscribe, and otherwise check your politeness. We talk soon. Sawadee cut.